Okay, I think we have everyone. So it's just a few minutes after 7 o'clock, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. And we will call the Johnston City Council meeting number 20-13 to order. Cindy, roll call, please.
Councilmember Cope.
Here.
Evans.
Here.
Martin.
Here.
We're going to go for a little bit and be back. I have
Ready?
Here.
spaghetti time on right now.
Here.
Done. So we're going to go swim for a little bit and come back.
Okay, we've got somebody with background conversation going on. If you could please mute your speaker. Thank you. So I'm going to begin by reading the COVID-19 information statement. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and in accordance with Governor Reynolds' March 19, 2020 proclamation suspending the regulatory provisions of Iowa Code Section 21.8 or any other statute imposing a requirement to hold a public meeting or hearing, the City of Johnston will conduct meetings electronically with the public allowed to attend per instructions denoted on the meeting's particular agenda. Meeting minutes will continue to be posted per the city's normal course of business. Move on then, and welcome everyone who is in attendance with us this evening. Cindy, can you see whether or not we have folks that have joined us that are not council members or staff?
Just the regular Phil Dunshee, Eric Melton, and Barry Conscious.
Just the regular characters. Okay. Very good. Well, if somebody else does join us, let us know so that we can make sure that we're anticipating where they might want to speak or if they want to speak at all. So don't want to miss anyone. Moving next on to the agenda approval. Do we have any changes to the agenda, Jim?
No changes to the agenda this evening.
Okay, council members, any changes? Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Cindy, roll call. Or Cindy,
Councilmember Evans.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Ready.
Yep.
Soroka.
Yes.
Cope.
Yes.
motion approved. Moving on to public communications. We don't have any listed public communications this evening. Do we have anyone, Cindy, can you tell if we have anyone that has joined us this evening that would like to make comments on an item that is not otherwise on the agenda?
I do not see anyone indicating such.
Okay. Thank you. We will move on to public hearings then. We have one public hearing this evening, and that is to conduct a public hearing and consider resolution number 20-157, adopting plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost, and resolution number 20-158, making award of construction contract to Caliber Concrete LLC. And we will open this public hearing at 7:07.
All right, good evening. Phase 2 of the water trails has been kind of in the process since phase 1 was complete on 70th Avenue. Phase 2 really focuses in on the Lou Clarkson and the Beaver Creek Natural Resource or Terra Park area. This area on the Lou Clarkson side will be an actual launch that will be coming off the northeast corner of the lower softball complex, the parking over there. And on the Terra Park side, it will be coming off one of the natural resource trails, giving access. The one on Terra Park is actually just a stair step down water access. Due to the location of the trail and the distance away from parking, we felt like the distance was just a little too prohibitive for people to want to carry a canoe or a kayak down. Cindy, could you bring up the plans for this and turn to D01? Oh, you gave me power. All right, never mind. Maybe. It's not opening for me, Cindy.
It's on the screen, John.
Yeah, I when I bring it up to, it clicks and it comes back off for me. I'm not seeing the plans come up.
I'm not sure. Can everyone else see the plan?
No.
How about now?
There we go.
There you go. Perfect. What you are seeing, let's back it off. Can you back it down just a little bit? There you go. At the lower left-hand corner is the lower softball complex, the parking for that. The hashed area along there that leads towards the creek is the access point at Lou Clarkson. This area weaves through the trees. We had some smaller trees and shrubs that we removed over the wintertime last year to create this access point. As it gets down to the creek, it turns with the flow of water to give that launch site there. So this will be the second launch site that has direct access. Right there on these plans, you'll see it says 10-foot PCC trail. This is actually a 15-foot. We have a new plan set, an addendum that was sent out to those. It's a 15-foot trail to give emergency access to fire and rescue. So if we do have some kind of accident that happens on Beaver Creek, they will have a much easier access point to get onto the creek. The other highlighted or shaded area there, kind of a box just off the trail. If you go up, Cindy, for me, you can see that box up top. That gives a little bit more detail of what some of the amenities of this site will be. As you can see there, we will have another blue light phone for emergency cases that people need to reach out in case something happens that they need to reach 911. We do have solar lights here again, a bike fix-it station, and bike racks. So a lot of the amenities, if you think of what 70th Avenue was, a lot of the amenities are very similar to those amenities. So on the other side of Beaver Creek, if you want to scan across there, Cindy, is the trail that leads into the natural resource area. Once again, we took the path of least resistance that did not need to have trees cleared. We just kind of cleared some of the debris there. This is a 10-foot path that will lead to the creek edge, and then we have fieldstone boulders and limestone steps that will lead down to the access point right there to allow people that are at Beaver Creek or at Terra, give them the opportunity to get down to the creek. This will also give opportunities for people, if they want to canoe or kayak to this point, bring their canoe kayaks up over the shoreline and walk into Terra Park. They certainly are welcome to do that. But because of, once again, the distance from parking, we didn't feel like people would probably want to portage all the way and use this as a full launch site. So that's why you have it this way. People are more than welcome if they want to launch from here. It's just stair steps. They certainly can bring a kayak or a canoe down the steps. We just didn't feel like the site location was prone to allow for a launch there. So that's the basic gist of the project. On June 30th, we held our public bid and open bids at City Hall. We had 8 bidders on this project, which was quite amazing to have that number of bidders. The low bid came from Caliber Concrete. which was $149,862.27. This was approximately 12% under the cost opinion from ISG, the engineer, which was $169,850. We have worked with Caliber Concrete before. They're currently doing the North Glen project. They also did part of the Merle Hay Trail project. So they've done good work with trail projects with us. So we have confidence in moving forward with them with this project. ISG does recommend accepting this bid. Because of the quick turnaround from Tuesday bid opening to Wednesday agenda being available, we do not have a signed contract. That will be coming back to council to look at the July 20th city council meeting. I will make one note. During the phase one construction, between the phase one construction and this pre-construction, we were able to obtain several grants. Approximately $180,000 worth of grants have been obtained for the Water Trails project. So those grants alone actually will pay for this project. We do have within our CIP $500,000 for this phase of the project. The positive with it is it's generally earmarked for water trails in general. Adam and I have been exploring different options for phase 3. So this will allow us to continue looking at different options and continue working towards a phase 3 in the near future. Within our CIP for fiscal year 22 to 2022, we do have $700,000 in as a recommended phase 3 project. So as we move forward with looking at the next phase, we'll have a much better idea of what amount will be necessary for that. So as we come forward towards the CIP this fall, we may be able to minimize that or be able to tell you we'll have a much nicer next access. We have really thought phase 3 would be probably the most expensive phase no matter what. So it's nice to have a little bit of extra money right there to start that process. With that, I will take any questions that anybody would have.
Go ahead, Scott.
Jim.
Jim. Sorry.
As far as that Clarkson Park, when they close the gates, is that us that closes those, or is that somebody else?
We have access. We have the ability to open and close. So
Okay.
with this, we'll kind of see how the fall is going. We may keep it open a little bit longer into the fall. Typically, we close it November 1st, but we'll see how it's going into the fall. Similarly, we may open it a little earlier in the spring.
Cool. And then the other thing I had was on the bid tabulation. It looks like the architect's estimate for testing was only 500, but yet every one of the contractors was well over 1,000, 1,500, 3,900. I'm just curious what the contractors saw that the engineer didn't.
I would have to ask that question. I'm not 100% positive what the reasoning with that. There's not most of the testing has already occurred with this project. We do a lot of our testing separate from these contracts, so we already know what the ground conditions are through there.
Yeah, it just kind of was a flag for me. That's it. That's all I got.
So John, just clarification. I believe I heard you say that we have received enough grant money to pay for this project.
Yes, between the Iowa Water Trails grant and Polk County, we've received more grant money than what this actual phase is. So obviously a lot of that money was actually directed towards phase 1, but we actually had enough money within the CIP for phase 1 to cover those costs. So.
Okay. So we otherwise had $500,000 in the budget to pay for this?
That was what was in the CIP for this phase.
Okay, so we've got that $500,000 plus even maybe a little bit more to carry forward to phase 3 then.
Correct. And once again, within the CIP for 2022, we have 700,000. Whether we actually approve the 700,000 or lower it, it's going to depend on continued studies on what phase 3 is going to look like and what kind of easement opportunities we may have. Obviously, we were looking at phase 3 as a part of the Gateway project development. We may want to start moving forward and at least get some easements that won't impact that and get at least an access point somewhere behind the Fresh Market Hy-Vee right there.
So just a question about the design. On the Terra Lake side, is there going to, if you're in your canoe or kayak, is it going to be graded such that you can pull up and just rest your vehicle and get out and go up into Terra Lake? I mean, is there going to be some place for it to land?
Yeah, if normal water depth, there's a large sandbar right through there. That's the reason why there's a step down to that exact location, was it gives a good location to stop and rest. If we happen to have higher water, you'll actually be able to just land right on the shoreline then.
Okay. So the idea is there is a fairly significant sandbar there. So if the
Right.
water is low, you can come down the steps, you can stand on the sandbar, you can dip your toe in the creek. And as
Yep,
many people are doing right now, they're out playing in the water.
Yeah. Water's actually lowering quite a bit right now. So, but that sandbar is probably about 30 yards long. So it's a nice, substantial sandbar.
Great. So when are we going to see like pictures, artist renditions of this?
I asked the engineers, I've been asking, the problem that we've had is we've kind of changed some of the focus throughout the time period of this project. If you recall, for a while, we're thinking we would try to get a bridge across there. We understood through engineering and through working with the Army Corps that because of flood levels of the river, we weren't going to be able to put a bridge through that section. So I hope here in the next 2 weeks that we'll be able to get that. Maybe for the July 20th council meeting, we'll have more of a rendition. We do have one from Terra, but it all looks like is a trail down with steps. Doesn't look overly exciting.
No, look forward to that. Are there other questions for John?
I have a couple. John, I really appreciate all the work you're putting into these water trails. People love them. People are using them. Very excited about them, and I'm very excited that we're going to get right into, hopefully get right into phase 3, because that's the one comment I always get is can't get out of the water, and people are using the area by Hello Fresh, and it's difficult. So I very much appreciate that. I am a little concerned about Caliber Concrete. I was familiar with their work from up at Iowa State, but I'm not very impressed with North Glen. So I hope our engineers stay on top of them and make sure that they continually are making progress and there aren't long legs where nothing is getting done.
Sure. I will certainly make note of that and talk to the engineers with that. This project is fairly short in length of both the trail segments, so my hope and desire is that they'll frame it all up and just pour it all in a short period of time. Unlike North Glen, it shouldn't have to come in stages.
Okay, appreciate it.
And typically the fall is the best time to do these types of projects because of you typically have drier weather, you have lower river levels, you have that. So the timing is going to be fairly good with the timing of the project.
I might say you better be knocking on wood for saying that.
I know.
So John, maybe you said this, but when is kind of the start and completion dates on this project?
They're looking at starting about the first or second week of August. The completion date is October 31st.
Hey, John, do you anticipate designating some parking spots in that lower lot for accessing the kayak launch? That parking lot and the whole Lou Clarkson parking lot can fill up quite quickly on any weekend that you've got softball, baseball tournaments going on, or any weeknight during the season. And so I think we need to keep that in mind, and certainly any Saturday or Sunday when we have a softball tournament going on, that lower lot is full, as you know. And so have you guys contemplated designating a handful of parking slots for people who want to launch a kayak, or as Councilwoman Martin said, if people who want to use it as a takeout spot, because this will be a nice takeout spot as well. If they want to leave a car down there, then go up to 70th and launch from there, they could do that. But I think have you given some thought to that, or what your thinking is on that?
Yeah, as we looked at that, we were thinking somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 8 spots would be adequate. That's typical in those types of an area. They would be the ones associated to the far north section of that parking lot, away from the softball complex, which would be the least used probably by the softball attendees. I think
you have signage is built into this project for that. Then
you have some signage with that. Yes. Yep.
Okay.
And I think part of the key with this that we'll be bringing forward with to the city council, and I know, Tom, you're going to be sitting in on meetings in August with the engineer, but we're starting to finalize the designs for some of the improvements to the softball area within Lou Clarkson as part of the expansion over there, and additional parking will be a major player in that project.
Right. Certainly, that'll help with the situation.
Other questions for John? This is a public hearing. Cindy, has anybody joined us that might want to make a comment on this?
Does not appear so.
Okay. If there's no other questions or comments, we will close the public hearing at 7:26. We have 2 resolutions before us. We have resolution number 20-147. Do we have
157.
Yes, that's what I meant to say. Didn't come out right. 157. Do we have a motion to approve resolution number 20-157?
So
Move
moved.
approval, Cope. Second, Cope.
We have a motion and a second. Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Martin,
Yes.
Ready,
Yep.
Soroka,
Yes.
Cope,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Motion passed. We also have resolution number 20-158. Do we have a motion?
Move approval, Cope.
Second, Evans.
Sounds like Cope and Evans.
Yes.
We have a motion and it's been seconded. Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Ready,
Yep.
Soroka,
Yes.
Cope,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move approval.
Second, Cope.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Soroka,
Yes.
Cope,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Ready.
Yep.
Motion passed. Moving on to the non-consent agenda. Item 8A, consider approval of the second reading of ordinance number 1029, an official zoning map amendment for approximately 7.993 acres from M2 to C3 in MUC ROC 1. The subject property is located north of Northwest Johnston Drive and Interurban Trail.
There have been no changes since first reading.
Okay. Council have any questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve second reading of ordinance number 1029?
So moved, Cope.
I second Suresh.
A motion and a second. Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Cope,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Ready? Ready?
Sorry, yes, I was muted.
Soroka,
Yes.
Motion passed. Item 8B, consider approval of change order number 8 with Hanson JTC LLC for the Johnston Town Center project.
Good evening. This is a change order for something we've had a lot of discussions about both at the council level and at committee level related to the changing of the ice rink from synthetic ice to, or from traditional frozen ice to synthetic ice, and the resulting changes that would occur with that to the site support building. As a result of really trying to keep this moving, we're seeing this in two different phases. This change order would be specific to removing the ice refrigeration equipment and the modifications to the site support building. The remaining changes to the ice rink area, the purchase of the synthetic ice, those types of changes will come hopefully at the next council meeting, as those are currently being bid out as we speak. Obviously, the refrigeration equipment was very expensive, and so the result of this change order to accommodate both men's and women's bathrooms within the site support building, to accommodate the finishing of a concession area on the west side of that building, adding different canopy, speakers, lighting, heaters, HVAC systems that weren't originally intended. We're still, with this change order, removing $715,129 from the overall project budget, which would at this time go into the owner's contingency, with that contingency now being a balance of just under $2.4 million. We are, as I mentioned, anticipating an additional change order that we hope to have to you at the next council meeting. That would be the changes around the ice rink area, changing to the synthetic ice. We've added a speed table between the site support building and the ice rink. We've increased the size of the paver area where ripples, the art structure will go, all of those types of changes. They're expecting that, or budgeting that, to be an expense of around $600,000 to $620,000. So the overall change in the project is anticipated to be in that $100,000 range, a reduction from the original plan. That doesn't include some of the other equipment purchases that were planned, such as the purchase of a Zamboni, for example. Those would be additional savings to the overall project. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any specific questions the council might have. Really, the site support building plans haven't changed from previous reviews by the council.
Any questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve change order number 8 with Hanson JTC?
Move approval.
We have a second. Suresh, is that?
Second.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
We have a
Second,
motion.
Cope, or if you need one.
We have a motion and a second. Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Ready?
Suresh, you need to turn your voice on.
All right, I'm having a problem. Yes.
There you go.
Soroka,
Yes.
Is that everyone?
Martin, sorry.
Yes.
I
Sorry,
haven't voted yet. Yes. Is Martin voting twice for me? Is that what's happening? Is that what, have I been,
I'm
I've been
sorry.
cut out
Yes,
of,
yes,
sorry,
I said
Councilmember
yes
Coe.
again.
oh, yes.
No, you'd think after doing this for a couple of months, we'd have this down, but I guess we
Oh,
need to
we're
practice.
good.
Okay, so, everyone has voted, correct? It was unanimous. Motion passed. Item 8C, consider approval of claims in the amount of $1,530,283.12. Do we have a motion?
Move approval, Cope.
Second, Martin.
We have a motion and a second. Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Martin,
Yes.
Ready,
Yes.
Soroka,
Yes.
Cope,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
See, we can do this. Motion passed. Okay, moving on to city administrator staff comments. Jim, you've already shared some comment.
Yes, I have. I already talked about the pool or aquatic center. I guess I would just ask if anybody had any questions on that. I know we got it done in the work session, but I didn't know if anybody had any specific questions, or if not, we can go ahead and move on to a couple other things.
Okay, let's,
Okay.
any quick questions for Jim?
So Jim, I have a question. So in that documentary showed that in 2005 you had about 58%, in 2006. I can't remember the numbers there.
Right.
So those votes and resolution were done based off what the citizens requested, or is that the city council decided to do that?
Decided to do what? Sorry.
Run that referendum
Oh,
on.
right. I think the citizens, and we had a group of citizens that were very active in promoting that first referendum, and I believe, if I remember correctly, they made a request to have the council have that vote again, because and really the logic there was that, more than 50% of our community wanted it, but you have to have 60% to have it approved, and since it fell just 13 votes short, they requested that the council consider having another referendum, and so yes, that was, and then the council made the decision to go ahead and hold that second referendum.
Okay, so what my question was leading was, the next time we decide to have this referendum, so the city council should be out on that, or should we wait for the citizens of Johnston to make a motion before we consider that?
I think that's part of what we're trying to show with this particular document. Really, since it's really up to the citizens to promote the aquatic center or pool, the city can't spend public dollars to do any promotion. I think the idea is that with the city council, and certainly what staff would like to see, is a very organized group of citizens to approach the city council and talk about their commitment, both in time and getting more people interested in the project, and there would have to be some fundraising to do some of the promotional pieces. But so I think that's what we'll be looking for. We need to make sure that we're not reacting to just one or two or a few citizens, that there is an organized effort. Sure. And a group of people that are willing to really work, and before the city council would make a decision to put it on a referendum.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Thanks, Jim.
Great. Okay. So I wanted to give the council an update on the garbage swap out for the new containers. As you are aware, and I've tried to keep you as updated as I get information from Metro Waste Authority, but I did, just before the council meeting this evening, got a call from Michael McCoy, who's the executive director of Metro Waste Authority. They, what he told me is they worked on the the west side of the community today. As the council's aware, they anticipated having 3 weeks of where they would work on the west side on Monday and the east side on Tuesday, which is the normal garbage collection days. And he told me today that they made a lot of progress. They put a lot of resources to it, including help from Ankeny Sanitation in trying to make sure that they got through most of the switch out or swapping of the trash cans today. And he told me that they feel like they basically finished the west side. Not to say that there isn't a few that need to be changed out, or maybe they missed a few or that kind of thing. But they're to the point where they feel like most of the trash cans on the west side, when I say west side, I'm talking west of 86th Street, have been changed out for the new trash cans. So tomorrow they're going to focus on the east side. And when I say east side, that's east of 86th Street. So it does include some neighborhoods that are along 86th Street, but they're going to focus on that tomorrow and try to get most of those completed by the end of the day tomorrow. And if there were some areas that were, or individuals that were missed today, they will continue to work on those tomorrow. They're actually going to have a crew that's going to focus just on the, where they might have missed folks, and then hopefully get the eastern routes done tomorrow. And it should be just some cleanup of a few people that may have missed the swap and those kinds of things. So they feel like they made a lot of progress and are really close to getting this thing wrapped up. I also just wanted to mention that today was the first day that Ankeny Sanitation provided trash service to our community. And so I haven't heard a report yet whether there's any issues related to just the switch over going from waste management to Ankeny Sanitation, but we'll certainly follow up on any of those issues that we might hear about. So looks like we're getting close to getting the swap wrapped up, and hopefully with another good day tomorrow and just some cleaning up on Wednesday, we'll have most, if not all, of our community addressed for the garbage container swap. Any questions on that?
Sure, Jim, I have a couple of questions. So if those garbage swap does not complete tomorrow, so you're recommending the citizens to leave the garbage cans out on Wednesday as well?
Yes, citizens put it out on their regular schedule tomorrow, and so they'll be focusing on those containers that are on the eastern area. They'll focus on the containers that haven't been switched out. And it's quite obvious because the new containers are brown, and it's easy for them to see which containers have been switched out and which hasn't.
Okay.
I just had one thing on that piece. This is such a minuscule thing, but I had some people that were disappointed that the color was brown of the cans. So I don't know if, in future years when we renew a contract, maybe that's just something we think of, not that decides something, but, we ask them if there's a different color we can get.
Yeah, we didn't. It's a good question. I know, some people probably would not be happy with that, but the decision was made by Metro Waste Authority. I don't think we had we weren't provided with any options. They own the containers, and those are the ones that they decided to go with. And I believe it's going to be the same in Grimes and Polk City and Clive. They all got brown containers from what I understand. So, and their hope is, when you talk about, next time we do this, our hope is that those containers at least last 10 years. So it'll be a while before I think there's any.
Well, everyone better get used to them.
Definitely, but no, yes, I know that some people have had concern about that. There was some question about whether the new ones are the same size as the old ones. The old ones were 96-gallon containers, and actually the new ones are 95-gallon containers. So they're very similar in size, but I think the outside dimensions are a little bit different, and so they do, take up a little bit different space than the old containers did. Okay. And then just, I'm not sure if everybody's aware, we did have a fire down at Terra Park over the weekend. Basically a trash can, and at this point in time, I'm not sure, I haven't heard whether it was the feeling that was just a mistake, or whether there was something more sinister about it. But a trash can caught fire out just on the right next to the shelter that's down by the park area, the playground area, and it did create some damage to the limestone wall as well as some of the roof. And the Parks Department got down there today and power washed the limestone, and it looked a lot better. It was pretty charred this morning, and we think that it happened probably sometime overnight on Saturday night to Sunday morning that the fire would have happened. We don't know, and I'll say this, I guess, because I know they were doing an investigation to see if they could determine the cause. We don't know if it was an accidental thing where somebody may have had a picnic down there on Saturday and threw some hot coals, or there were evidence of a lot of fireworks in the area, whether somebody, put something in there that may have been related to that, or or whether it was a purposely set fire. But the good news is it wasn't a total loss or a lot of damage to the shelter. There may be and I'll defer to John. I know they were trying to assess whether they felt like they might need to change out some of the boards in the roof of it, but it's cleaned up and looks a lot better. But we just want to let the council know we did have an issue down there this weekend.
Yeah, based on what we talked with both police and fire, the input that we got was it was most likely an accident that occurred somewhere around 11 o'clock Saturday evening. There's no structural damage whatsoever to the building itself. The limestone got heated enough that it was brittle on the outside, so there's a little bit of brittleness there that flaked off when we power washed. Probably the worst that we'll have to do is possibly some light sanding to the fascia board there and restain some of the area, but there's no structural damage. There's no heat related issues with the roof or anything like that. So we kind of dodged it, but all indications was it was not a smart thing, whatever happened exactly, whether it was coals or fireworks, but it certainly looks like it was probably an accident.
And just another item related to the shelter. One thing we discovered over this weekend, there was a user for the shelter. Well, there was a user that had reserved the shelter on Friday, and then some users on Saturday as well. And between the two groups, and we're not sure where it came from, but there was a lot of trash left there. Whoever, one of the groups, they used trash bags, but they basically set them right by the trash cans that were full. And something John and I talked about today with the large groups, or the popularity of renting that shelter, we probably need to put some kind of a larger trash facility, such as a dumpster, down near that shelter, because when you do have a large graduation party, or whatever kind of party you may have, there could be a lot of trash generated. And our concern was if it was the group that was there on Friday night, that trash was out Friday night, Saturday, and all day Sunday, and there wasn't any place down there to put the trash. So we're trying to look at what might be a solution to that, so we don't run into those problems in the future. So just wanted to let you know about that as well. And that's all I had this evening. I don't know if any of the department heads want to have anything else they want to talk about. Okay, I guess that's it, Paula.
Okay, well, let's do a quick round with the city council members, and we still have a closed session, correct, Jim?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Councilwoman Martin.
My only thing would be, I'm sort of curious to find out about over the weekend, did we have a lot of calls about the fireworks? It seems like I've never heard that many homegrown fireworks in town. Have we heard anything about calls or statistics?
Sure, this is Dennis. I can give you an overview of what I know right now. We pulled some numbers over the weekend and talked with some of our fellow Metro counterparts too, and it sounds like certainly what we experienced in Johnston was happening all over the metro area. A lot of discussion about the intensity of the fireworks. The explosions seem to be much more intense this year. I haven't had a chance to talk with Chief Clark. I don't know if there was some change in regulations as to higher density charges or anything as far as that goes. But when we looked, we pulled some numbers for the weekend. We had, for the 3-day weekend, we had 44 calls for service related to fireworks, which is pretty consistent with what we've had the last few years. However, the evening of the 4th, that in a 3-hour period, we had 26 calls for service. And that, again, across the metro, I think that was the most intense night, the actual evening of the 4th of July. We had 3 officers working that time, and they basically, in the span of their shift, they ran 37 calls for service for not just fireworks, but a lot of things. So they had a very busy night. When you look at kind of the activities over the weekend, we had a slight uptick in assaults, disputes, and domestic calls too. Some suspicious activity reports. We had 5 different missing persons or runaways that were involved in the weekend. So it was a pretty busy weekend in broad terms, but then just to give a little context to the fireworks calls for service, and those that are new to the council, once I have a data collection period that I'll get you some information for comparative purposes here once we get a few more days into this. But the way we handle our fireworks calls with the legislative change that was made is basically cities have the opportunity to still prohibit the use of them, but cities are also very limited in how they can enforce that. So we don't have the ability as a police officer to come up and seize someone's fireworks any longer the way we used to. That we might be called somewhere, see a large display going on, and we could seize them and destroy them. We can no longer do that. And then to charge someone, basically we have to witness it ourselves, or we have to have someone that is willing to be a witness in criminal court in order to file that charge. So we consider this a community wellness issue, so we treat it along the lines of other conflicts that we try to mediate. Typically what we do is if we can actually identify the individuals that are doing it, we'll educate them. We keep a confidential spreadsheet of who we've given those verbal warnings to, so that if we go back to that same property, we can check that off and we can issue the citation at that point. We also have the disorderly house ordinance that we can enforce if we need to, if we have repetitive issues. But as you can imagine, if you can put yourself in a squad car and you see all these fireworks exploding all around you, to drive to that specific household and then identify that specific person that's lighting that off, it's very, very difficult for us to do that. In our calls for service this year, we've had 71 calls for service on fireworks. We've identified 10 times, which is about 7% of the time we actually see the individuals that are doing that. I guess it would be 8% because we cited one person. So we've issued 7 verbal warnings, issued 1 citation so far. And a lot of times it's education and just trying to help them have a good time with their holiday, but at the same time, enjoy the peace and quiet, I guess, that we all hope for with that too. So I'll have some more specific numbers and comparative stats that I'll probably have available for the next council meeting. We just need a few more days, but in general, I would say we're down maybe slightly from a calls for service from what we've seen the last couple of years. But as far as the actual fireworks explosions, I would argue that we're probably certainly not down. There's just less people calling. We still have many more than we can handle and catch in the moment. But unfortunately, I'm not sure that we have a good solution other than trying to just work through each individual as they come to us and help educate them.
Thank you, Chief.
Yep.
Councilman Evans.
I just wanted to comment on the Merle Hay and 62nd road closure reopening. And boy, the comments I heard about how fast the concrete cured. Just nice job. That's it.
Thank you. Councilman Reddy.
Yeah, I have a thought that I sent out an email earlier this week. This is about COVID-19. So when COVID-19 hit us earlier this year, we were all unprepared and we hit us quite a bit hard and we had a lot of things happen. Then we went on to lockdown and wearing masks, we were able to put it down so it went away. Well, it did not go away, we were able to flatten it a bit. Now that we are reopening, and I don't see a lot of directions coming from the leaders that are saying how we should open it up, reopening it. and seen that in other states reopening has caused the spike of COVID go high. Well, that's the fact right now. So what I'm trying to get up here is in the city of Johnston, I thought we should get ahead of this COVID-19 before it affects us all. And maybe social distancing and masks could be the right way to go. And I sent out an email yesterday about it, trying to talk to it. And I think Jim Sanders responded back with what the city is doing for the city staff and everything. That's really commendable. That's really good that we're actually following those things. That I appreciate that. However, for the rest of the city, I'm not sure how this should go. I'm just thinking out loud up here. So one of the things I thought was that we at least should recommend the rest of the city to wear masks, at least when in social. I'm sorry.
Yeah, somebody else here has background. Please mute if you're not speaking.
So saying that in the rest of the city that we cannot go into a lockdown or such, that'll be really harmful to the business. What I suggested that at least that we could recommend the rest of the city, the businesses that are needed to be running, have those guys wear masks all the time. A recommendation that helps at least flatten the COVID-19 virus in the city. So that was my thought. That's the email I sent out. I'm sorry, guys. There's a lot of disturbance coming by.
It certainly is, and I'm looking to see who isn't muted. Cindy, is that noise coming from your area?
No, it's not. I've muted the two that I believe it is.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
All right. All right. So what was I saying? Okay. So my recommendation is to have this businesses around the city to at least have masks and do social distancing. But I'm not asking them to mandate it. I'm asking them it to be a recommendation that we do that. So that's where my thought process goes. I would like to hear from the rest of you guys. What do you guys think?
Well, Suresh, I can't even talk. An initial reaction to what you've just said, and you know, I talked to Jim earlier about what it is our city staff are doing, and one of the things I just want to remind everyone that when we sent out that emergency proclamation earlier this year, we did empower the city staff to put in place practices and procedures to protect the well-being of our employees. And so that's why, you know, all along they've been developing these policies and developing these practices and updating them as we go along to make sure that, you know, we're doing what we can within the city to protect our employees, but also to protect those who come in contact with our city employees. Yes. So I think you know what Jim sent out today shows that they are working hard to make sure that that happens. We do have Phil Dunshee on the. Is he Phil? I don't know. I think Phil Dunshee is still on, and one of the things that he could do through, you know, the JEDCO organization, or we could communicate to the Johnston Chamber, you know, this interest in continuing to encourage them to, you know, remind their members that we still have COVID out there and we still need to be social practicing and we still need to be, you know, doing what we can do to protect ourselves, but more importantly, to protect others. And just, you know, encourage that as strongly as possible. You know, one thing, and I don't know that Janet is on the phone, but you know, when we were first dealing with COVID-19, we did some pretty heavy, you know, social communication on the issue, and maybe we haven't done so much of that recently. So maybe it's time to kind of step that back up again and make sure that, you know, we're communicating as a city what we would like our residents and our businesses and our schools and others to be doing to make sure that that everyone is doing their part to try and combat this disease. So, and I just got a note from Phil. I don't know, I think probably y'all saw it. He said that they are encouraging the businesses to continue to do what they can. So,
That's very good. I appreciate that. I just want to make sure that we stay ahead of this COVID-19. We don't want to go back into a lockdown. Lockdown hurts all the businesses around the cities. Just don't want to go that. So the earlier we get ahead of that, we'll be in a better shape than we were earlier. So.
Bill just made the comment again that most of their members are still holding their meetings just like we're holding our meetings.
Yeah, well, holding meetings is one thing but when you're having business to do face to face, that makes it really hard. So at least we could encourage them all to wear masks, social distance, to sit flat on the curb.
Absolutely.
Councilman Reddy, I appreciate that you brought this forward. And I totally agree with your suggestions that we set an example and that we encourage businesses in Johnston to practice these safety practice, do all the safety practices they can to protect their employees and their clients. So I really appreciate that you did bring this forward. It was a great suggestion, and and it's very nice that we're having this discussion, and we should continue to have discussions like this because things may change. Another 2 weeks from now, another 4 weeks from now, it could be totally different. So thank you for that.
Yep.
I'd just like to add that I responded, Suresh, to your email. I don't know if you saw my response or not, and I think I sent it to everybody. But I think one of the real challenges we have on this issue is it's hard to get very good data. And I expressed in my email to Suresh my frustration that we're not getting better, hard data to make decisions from Polk County. And so, a couple of weeks ago or a couple of meetings ago, when Bob Brownell came to our meeting, he gave us some Polk County specific data. I thought that was really helpful. I asked that we get updated on that data, and we haven't received any additional data either from Bob or anybody else. So I would encourage our city staff who are talking to the state or county public health or emergency management to get recent Polk County specific data on what's happening. I think it's very hard to make a decision on COVID based on statewide numbers, because if you look at any place that does break the numbers down county by county, it's not increasing at the same rate in every county in the state of Iowa. And so I think, I think we need to make data-driven decisions. And two, I think we also need to make sure we coordinate with our regional neighbors as well. But and certainly, encouraging people to be cautious and is hard to argue with at this point. So.
Any other comments on that? Good discussion. Let's see, Tom, I think we have you next, maybe?
The only thing I wanted to add on the discussion about the swimming pool concept is I think that another option, first of all, I agree completely that this has to be a citizen-driven issue. And if a group of citizens want to come together to form a committee to look at an aquatic center, that hasn't happened. We have people sending emails, but there's been no organized effort. We need to, if people think that's important, they should encourage that organized effort to be pulled together. But second of all, I think when people forget that we actually do have access to a public pool in the city. It's at Summit Middle School. It's limited opportunity for lap swim, but it's a public pool that you can buy a pass to and access and swim there. So maybe that's another option, is looking at working with the school district, seeing if we can partner with them to see if we can maybe open that up for some more hours. So I think we need to think outside the box and not just think we've got to build another pool. And again, I don't think it's a city decision. I think we need to have citizens really sort of drive it. So.
And Councilman Soroka.
Hello. Real quick, I just was reminded on the mask front too. If you know, and maybe this is more for Phil, but if you know any small business owners and stuff that still need masks, I have some extra that we can donate to them. So just feel free to let me know. Okay, I just had two quick things. One, on the broadband front, I just wanted to let people know that we have RFPs that we received, which is exciting for that visioning study from previously. And more so, I wanted to let you know that as we're reviewing them, these are kind of like 3 things that I heard from previous discussions that we want to be looking out for. One, that whoever we choose be tech neutral, whoever we choose be vendor neutral, and then finally, I know there's some concerns about making sure we look at any technical drawbacks and potential obsolescence issues of any, vision that goes forward. So I just wanted people to know that I'm reviewing that and taking that into account when I'm looking through stuff. But if you have any additional concerns, it sounded like based off our meeting today, we're gonna continue reviewing through the end of this week through Friday. So feel free to share them with the committee and we can definitely be looking for those. And if anyone's curious, say, have notes and we can share those too. But just want to put that out. And then finally, I have a comment for Dave Wilwerding in community development. So I had received correspondence from a constituent who said they received great service in regards to building permit issues they had, and that they were very impressed with how quickly Kelsey helped them get everything they needed. So wanted to pass along that feedback for your department as well.
Thank you. I'll pass that along to her.
Hey, Scott, this is Suresh.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Scott, Councilman Scott. Can you send me that information on the RFP you received for the broadband so I can just have a look at it?
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you. You're muted, Mayor. You're muted, Mayor.
Sorry, I always mute when my clocks start making noise, and I forgot. I was just going to share with you that Adam Plaguey is our staff person who is coordinating all of that activity, so you can always reach out to him as well.
Okay.
Okay, we've gone through all the.
Suresh and Rhonda, I did send over to you a link to all of the RFP responses just now. And Scott could probably send you over his kind of analysis that he's got of them. So you're more than welcome to read through those and give me any feedback you have. Staff will be getting together later this week to discuss them and get our thoughts in order as well.
Adam, did you send them to Jim as well?
Oh, sorry, Jim, I'll get them to you as well. Sorry, I was trying to remember who was all on that committee that looked at it, and yeah, I missed you.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks.
Okay, so we've had city council comments. I don't know that I have anything in particular to share this evening. Just lots of things going on, but nothing in particular. So with that, is there anything else that we need to cover before we go into closed session? If not, then we have the next item on the agenda is a closed session under Iowa Code Section 21.51C to discuss strategy with counsel in matters that are presently in litigation or where litigation is imminent, where its disclosure would be likely to prejudice or disadvantage the position of the governmental body in that litigation. Do we have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second, Martin.
We have a motion and a second. Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Reddy,
Yes.
Soroka.
Yes.
I think we lost Cope, but Cope.
Okay, well, we have the votes that we need to go into closed session. So let's go into closed session.
Okay, see you on the other side.